In patch 1 of Attila, I tested quite extensively which units beat which, with which upgrades, and what happened was that Germanic Horsemen became extremely cost effective against anything but Cavalry when upgraded to gold status. Now, this has changed, of course, because the Creative Assembly has swung the hammer of ban, and now the Germanic Horsemen are close to useless. They only have a 10 bonus, they lost Moss, they basically lost everything that made them good. And what this has done is that it has opened up for elite cavalry units to be more viable, because you just cannot upgrade Germanic Horsemen anymore, and they will beat elite cavalry units like these heroic cavalry and the noble Germanics. So now the game, whereas the game was about mid-tier cavalry, now it has shifted to be much more about elite cavalry. And one of the elite cavalry units that now are fairly interesting in my opinion would be these heroic cavalry. They don't have the best armor, they have good health, they have a decent amount of morale, but they do have precursors. And these precursors that they are throwing around have a 15 bonus versus cavalry. And together with 90 missile damage, that's going to do a lot of damage to these noble Germanic Horsemen. Now, the reason why these noble Germanic Horsemen are upgraded to triple bronze is because the heroic cavalry costs 800, the noble Germanic Horsemen cost 750. So this is trying to get them a bit closer to each other in terms of price. So on the charge here, the noble Germanic Horsemen start losing men instantly because of the precursors, while the heroic cavalry, and this is very important, the heroic cavalry is still at 60 men, while the noble Germanic horse have dropped to 54. So that is a very, very important difference. Now it starts to even out a bit, but it's going to be hard for noble Germanic Horsemen to eke out or to bring back that advantage. Because if you look at the stats of these units, the noble Germanic Horsemen upgraded have higher melee attack, the melee damage is the same, the charge bonus is 55 for the heroic, so it's lower for the noble Germanics. Melee defense of 25, melee defense of 25 for the upgraded noble Germanics, very similar units. The noble Germanics have 53 armor and 249 health, so more health more armor, and the health is basically identical. Now the morale here is also fairly identical, and the speed is identical. The precursors make the difference. Also, headhunt for the heroic cavalry is a very useful ability. But the noble Germanic Horsemen have steady. Now headhunt guarantees that these heroic cavalry, even in fights they're going to be losing, they're going to be able to stay in the fight for 30 seconds longer, and that is a long time to get in some infantry support. But as you can see here, the noble Germanic Horsemen are losing against the heroic cavalry. So both units are exhausted. Here we're going to be testing heroic cavalry in the this is the wedge formation, and this is the diamond formation. So the wedge formation is going to give plus 10 melee attack, plus 50% charge speed, and plus 15% charge bonus. The diamond is going to give 50% charge speed and 15% shield defense. So no increase in melee attack there, only an increase in charge speed and in shield defense. However, both of these units are going to be penalized against missiles. Minus 100% missile block chance and minus 100% missile block chance. So the precursors should be doing more damage to the noble Germanic Horsemen here. And the heroic cavalry wins quite comfortably against upgraded noble Germanic horse, and this is very important for the Saxons. They now have a unit that is cost effective against the Germanic noble cavalry, which is the main cavalry for the Germanic factions. Now, of course, you know what happens when these units fight the noble Alani cavalry. They die horribly. And that is true for any melee cavalry unit in the game. They just cannot fight heavy mass, good health, good armor, and a 30 bonus against large. It's not going to happen. It's completely pointless. It's completely futile. The Alani Horsemen or the new Tagmata, they beat any and all melee cavalry much cheaper than their opponent's cavalry. So, in both instances here, even though the Germanics are upgraded, 32 heroic cavalry remaining, and 33 heroic cavalry remaining. So a fairly convincing display there by the heroic cavalry. Now we're going to be testing the heroic cavalry here up against vanilla, and I'm just going to fast forward this because since the heroic cavalry beats upgraded Germanics, Germanics that are not upgraded should not do too well, and indeed they don't. They are getting... they're getting wrecked. A bit of friendly fire here, but I moved them so it shouldn't be too bad. Might affect the outcome of this particular battle. It's too bad really, because in this particular scenario here, we're doing heroic cavalry against noble Germanics in wedge. So this was the one instance where the missiles would potentially play a massive part due to both having their missile block chances reduced. But again, heroic cavalry here destroying noble Germanic Horsemen vanilla, no surprise there. Here we have Nordic Horse Lords, however, and this is quite interesting because Nordic Horse Lords are, again, they are cheaper than the noble Germanic Horse, and the noble Germanic Horse is at 750, the Nordic Horse Lords are at 700. If we look at their stats, the Nordic Horse Lords have worse attack and defensive stats, health and armor identical. The missiles for the Nordic Horse Lords, the Nordic Horse Lords also scare, and they do have the headhunt ability. So on the charge here, the noble Germanics, they lose slightly because of the precursors mainly. The Nordic Horse Lords also lose quite a bit of men. Now I'm not paying attention as we're doing this. I'm doing this test with the Prussian Prince, and as we're doing this we're talking and stuff, so I'm sort of not paying attention. I should have been using headhunt when the Nordic Horse Lords start wavering, but I didn't. Just missed the opportunity, but yeah, that is very important, especially since they have fear. So over here we have upgraded, these Nordic Horse Lords are upgraded. They are still a bit cheaper than the noble Germanics, but fairly similar, and you can see all of the blood here from the precursors. There are a lot of hits incoming. So the Nordic Horse Lords over here are doing vanilla. They are defeating the noble Germanic Horsemen. Over here, it's very, just look at how even it is. Here we have 20 men remaining, and here we have 18 men remaining. So if I would activate Headhunt at this exact point, and Steady would be activated for the noble Germanics, we might see these units just obliterate each other and shatter when the effects wear off. And that is a very good exchange for the Nordic Horse Lords, but at this point I just forget to activate Headhunt. But over here you can see the Nordic Horse Lords win. It's a bit random since the game is based on random calculations. Sometimes a unit will win and sometimes it will lose, but that is also a result. Knowing that a unit might either win or lose against a particular unit depending on circumstance is a very useful thing to find out. So in this case, had I used now the Headhunt, the Nordic Horse Lords certainly would have defeated the noble Germanic Horsemen, or the units would have destroyed each other. But upgraded here, it's
we have gained the upper hand.
It's not really close. I mean, the noble Germanic Horsemen are getting destroyed by upgraded Nordic Horse Lords. And if you're able to kill an enemy cavalry unit and you still have 35 men remaining, and even just having 20 men remaining, that is a unit that can do a lot of damage to remaining infantry and skirmishers, and still do a lot of damage to engaged enemy cavalry. So the Saxons now have 2 units very capable of defeating noble Germanic Horsemen, and very cost effective. Now in terms of pure cost effectiveness, I have to give it to the Nordic Horse Lords. They cost 100 less than heroic cavalry, so you bring heroic cavalry if you need to boost morale, or if you need to maybe one on each flank, or if there's a limit on, you can bring, say, you can only bring 8 cavalry units, then you can bring 6 Nordic Horse Lords and 2 heroics, and that should enable you to do very well against most Germanic factions, except for, of course, the noble Alani cavalry. So that's it. Noble Germanics, very strong units, but the heroic cavalry and the Nordic Horse Lords are just better. Strength and honor.